Lots of American companies are taking their business out of Russia. We've got to look at some of the big ones tonight. Disney, Apple, a lot of credit card companies, the oil companies, but there are some other big name companies, corporations that are taking some heat for not doing anything, and they continue to operate and do business in Russia. Among those staying quiet, McDonald's, Starbucks, to name a few. Reports say pressure is growing on them to do something at this point. The stakes are high. To talk about what could happen next, we're joined by economics expert Christopher Thornberg. Christopher, appreciate your time. So the lines are being drawn clearly in terms of who's still doing business in Russia. So how much of a financial hit first would some of these businesses, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, take if they continue to hold the line?
Look, there's two things they have to balance there. Obviously, they've made substantial investments in Russia. Here are your choices. You can pull out of Russia and avoid the political hit to the rest of your brand, or you can go ahead and more or less write off those Russian assets and pull out right now. There's a lot of conversation going on in boardrooms. And look, as this thing gets uglier, I think that the pressure is going to build. And I think most of these companies are going to have to just get rid of their operations.
Well, and how much problems could they incur in terms of public relations the longer they hold out? How long does it take for them to recover from that?
I will tell you right now, I saw that list of names up there, and I was shocked that Starbucks hadn't pulled out, to be honest with you. So as the days go on, surely, of course, the public outcries will grow. It shows up on social media pages, and, when the Facebook comments start coming, the marketing managers go running. So it's going to get ugly, no doubt about it.
Well, what about the companies that have halted business? So we named a few: Boeing, Ford, Disney. How does it impact their bottom line, ultimately the supply chain as a larger whole?
Well, the supply chain, not at all. In fact, if anything, it maybe makes their supply chain problems a little bit easier. Keep in mind, the vast majority of companies out there are dealing with a global environment that doesn't seem to be able to buy enough, particularly here inside the United States. Ford, for example, can't keep enough cars on the lot to meet current demand. If they can't sell those cars in Russia, look, they don't want to lose the dealerships in the long-run business. But at the same time, it's hard for me to see them taking a very large profit hit in this high-demand world. Really, for the most part, Russia is not an important part of the world economy. Surely, we've invested a lot of money in it, but it's still a relatively backwards economy. It's not part of the global supply chains. The only thing it really makes are weapons and commodities like oil. Beyond that, it's really not part of the global flows, and thus it won't have these broader impacts.
Well, and I guess finally, it's just a question of how much power does the American public have with these brands based here when it comes to how they move forward and what happens next. What do you think?
Listen, you have watched these brands make a lot of dramatic choices because of social pressures. Whether it's coming out in favor of all sorts of different kinds of social rights, whether it's for transgenders or minorities of various sorts. They're obviously keenly socially aware, particularly with the millennials coming into their prime buying years, and they are very sensitive to these topics. You have to pay attention, otherwise you're going to find yourself in a very large hole very quickly. These companies spend decades and billions building their brands. They're not going to let this threaten it.